This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Chaos broke out in the New York courtroom yesterday with Donald Trump's testimony, where he was muttering and rambling and sputtering and stuttering and filibustering as he ranted and raved, raising his voice. I mean, it really ultimately turned into a shouting match with Donald Trump at the helm, with the judge at the helm, but Donald Trump attempting to claw back control, thinking he's still president of the United States and thinking he still has the bully pulpit of the president of the United States. The last moment when he walked out, he did some zip lip thing. Hey, Mr. President, how did it go? And he pouted. I can't talk about it. There's a gag order. But Alina Habba, his lawyer, did not button her lip. She did not zip it. She went out in an unhinged attack on the judge, said a bunch of radical things that did violate the gag order. And my question is, I'm going to read a little bit from a Politico article after I play the clip, but my question would be, to what end? Because whether you know it or not, the judge has already ruled that Donald Trump absolutely committed fraud in inflating the value of his assets. The verdict is in. What this portion of the trial is, the bench trial, is to find out what the penalty will be. So Donald Trump isn't doing himself any favors, and Donald Trump knows he's not doing himself any favors, and he has enlisted the help of his legal team to act like maniacs on his behalf. Watch Alina Habba.
You have a right to hire a lawyer who can stand up and say something when they see something wrong. But I was told to sit down today. I was yelled at, and I've had a judge who is unhinged slamming a table. Let me be very clear. I don't tolerate that in my life. I'm not going to tolerate it here. And you know what? You shouldn't either.
Wow. First, I'm going to read first, let me address this. She's acting like she's never been in a courtroom before. When you're a defendant in a courtroom, if you're a plaintiff in a courtroom, the judge is the court. You're not calling the man or woman who sits behind the bench Your Honor because of some deference to that human being. You're saying it as in deference to the court itself. And the court is run by that particular judge, and they have wide berth to act as they want, to determine who gets to stand, who gets to talk, and how they get to talk. And from all accounts, and that's what I'm going to read here, she was not treated poorly. Engoron, the judge, was not yelling and screaming at her. For most of the reporting I've read, scratch that, all of the reporting I have read indicates that he was very fair, very patient, very kind, in fact, imploring. In fact, the word that I may not read it here. I don't know if this was a portion, but he says, I beseech you, please, to one of the counsel, control your client. He's beseeching them. But this is from Politico, title of the article, I'm not a windmill person. Trump takes the witness stand and doesn't break character. In a series of outbursts while testifying, Trump assailed the judge who was overseeing his civil fraud case. And this is the portion that rebuts what you just watched from Alina Habba. During one heated exchange, Trump attorney Alina Habba snapped at the judge, telling him, "You are here to hear what he has to say." Engoron shouted in response, commanding her to sit down. "No, I am not here to hear what he has to say," he yelled. "I'm here to hear him answer questions." Meaning, there's another sentence here, but meaning Donald Trump was going on these filibusters, just not answering the questions, doing what he does like in interviews where it's just free association, man, woman, TV, camera, just psychotic rambling, not answering direct questions, in some cases, yes or no questions. He's not here to hear a speech from Donald Trump. He's here to hear him answer specific questions from the prosecution. Last sentence here. From the witness stand, Trump interjected, leaning into the microphone after Engoron told her to sit down. leaning into the microphone, this is a very unfair trial. Very, very. I hope the public is watching. And that statement right there leads me to talk about the last thing that she said in her unhinged rant on the steps of the courthouse, which is, I don't accept this kind of behavior, this kind of treatment, and you shouldn't either. You see, this case isn't about Donald Trump trying to claw back control of his companies or maintain some semblance of authority within the eyes of the government or the court. This is all about public perception. He knows he is cooked. He knows he's dead to rights, has been found guilty or liable for the charges because it's a civil case. So what he's doing here and what his legal team is doing here is appealing to the public. The court of public opinion is where they're working right now. And they know that their audience is just unhinged enough to maybe commit violence, to maybe act in an equally unhinged manner as you just witnessed from Alina Habba, except pepper in a little violence. So when he says, and I hope the public is watching, you know what he's talking about. When she says, I won't accept this kind of treatment, and you shouldn't either, we know what they're talking about. I'm going to continue reading here to give you a flavor for some of the other moments in Donald Trump's testimony. Testimony by Donald Trump in a civil fraud trial Monday quickly descended into bitter sniping as Trump's discursive answers and outbursts prompted the judge to repeatedly admonish him. During his 4 hours on the witness stand, the former president lost his temper and attacked the judge, railing against the person who will decide the fate of his business empire and suggesting one of his pretrial rulings was, quote, very stupid. Trump continually flouted the judge's instructions to provide succinct and direct answers to questions, instead offering much of the political animus Trump typically deploys on the campaign trail. Quote, it's a terrible thing you've done. You know nothing about me, Trump said to Justice Arthur Engoron during one verbal strike from the witness stand. Quote, you believe that political hack back there, he added, looking toward New York Attorney General Letitia James, who brought the $250 million civil fraud case against Trump, his adult sons, and officers in the Trump organization. In a crucial pretrial ruling, the judge found that Trump systematically inflated his assets on financial documents to obtain favorable terms from banks and insurers. Because it is a bench trial, meaning there is no jury, Engoron will decide what penalties Trump and his company will face. And then finally here, after Trump launched into yet another monologue about the disclaimers, the judge stopped him. No, Engoron said. We're not going to hear about the disclaimer clause. If you want to hear about the disclaimer clause, read my opinion again or for the first time, perhaps. Trump replied, you're wrong in your opinion, adding, he called me a fraud and he didn't know anything about me. Last sentence here, aside from grimacing, Engoron didn't react. You hear that? Apart from grimacing, making a face, he did not react to Trump's attacks. But the judge did become incensed at several points when Trump seemingly refused to answer questions he was being asked by a lawyer for the Attorney General's office. So the narrative that's being painted by MAGA world, by MAGA attorneys, by Donald Trump himself, is that he's being mistreated, that they're all being mistreated. They're being abused. I've never had a judge. Oh, come on. If you've been in a courtroom, an actual courtroom, and you would think Alina Habba has, being an attorney, you know how it works. You show deference. You shut your mouth. You speak when spoken to. It's not a free-for-all where you just get to stand up and start talking, yelling at the judge, instructing the judge, commanding the judge. Whether you're Donald Trump, ex-president of the United States, or the counsel for Donald Trump, the ex-president of the United States. We're setting the record straight here. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. I would absolutely love to hear from you. You can also just mix it up in the comments. That works as well. If you want to help support my work, if you feel inclined to help produce what we do here, click the join button below. Become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month, or you can become a patron on Patreon before the end of the year and take part in the end of the year Patreon supporter gift that we send out. Go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, Blue Sky, all of them at Dollemore. And I'd love to see you there. I will see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.